Pope Francis faces tough act to follow in Poland. Vatican City events. As Pope Francis was getting ready to head to Poland this week, he had this message for the hundreds of thousands of young pilgrims gathering there for World Youth Day. Let us offer the world the mosaic of many races, cultures and peoples united in the name of Jesus, the Pope said in a tweet. Francis may well have been sending a message to his Polish hosts who appear less than enthusiastic about his arrival for the event established 30 years ago by his predecessor St. Pope John Paul II, who remains an icon in his country a decade after his death. During his 5-day visit that began in Krakow on Wednesday, July 27, the Pope will meet Polish clergy, stop at several Catholic shrines and make a solemn visit to the Auschwitz concentration camp. It will conclude with Mass on Sunday to mark World Youth Day. But in this overwhelmingly Catholic country, the local reaction has been cool. The experience of this pontificate teaches us that whenever we are expecting the revolution, what comes is a disappointment, wrote Dominika Kozlowska, editor-in-chief of Znak, the Polish Catholic monthly. Poland's largest circulation newspaper, Gazeta Wyborcza, described the Pope as an inconvenient guest in one of its headlines, while Polish bishops circulated a letter to promote World Youth Day in which Pope Francis was never mentioned, but the late Polish Pope was praised several times. The Pope has significantly scrapped a speech he was going to give to the bishops and decided to meet them behind closed doors for dialogue instead. He wants a climate of total familiarity, said the Ref. Federico Lombardi, head of the Vatican press office. He wants to make sure people are at ease. Francis' concern about the poor and the homeless sits in stark contrast to the Polish Church's conservative approach and alignment with the ruling Law and Justice Party government, which takes a hard line on abortion and other issues. The government also defends the Catholic identity of a homogeneous Poland at a time when European countries are under pressure to accept more refugees fleeing war and poverty. Social justice and immigration are certain to provoke debate when the Pope meets more conservative Polish clergy behind closed doors in Krakow on Wednesday. Francis has staked his papacy on compassion. The phenomenon of immigration is new and strange for the average Pole, said the Ref. Pawel Rytel-Andrianik, the Polish theologian at the Pontifical University of the Holy Cross in Rome. There is a lot of fear. Unfortunately, these fears are fed by certain political parties and inappropriate statements by politicians, according to Rytel-Andrianik, a spokesman for the Polish Bishops' Conference. That fear is focused on Muslims. He says even though the Catholic Church helps a small number of migrants, there is no attempt by the government to educate Poles about racial, cultural or religious diversity. Francis will be promoting mercy against a backdrop of recent attacks in Europe and growing fears that Islamist militants are trying to wage a holy war on the continent, particularly after the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the murder of a priest, the Ref. Jacques Hamel, as he was saying Mass in a church in northern France Tuesday. Francis knows perfectly what is happening, and at this time he is perhaps the only world leader to have a strategy to marginalize the piecemeal world war III underway, said Gian Guido Vecchi, who covers the Vatican for Italian daily Corriere della Sera. Spreading panic and bringing a religious war to the heart of Europe is exactly what the centers of Islamist terrorism and their followers are proposing, he wrote in a column published after the killing of the French priest. Up to 2 million young people were expected to attend World Youth Day and were eagerly awaiting Francis' arrival amid tight security. More than 30,000 American pilgrims have registered for the event. Paul Jarzembowski, the World Youth Day USA National Coordinator, told Vatican Radio more U.S. pilgrims were going to this World Youth Day than to any other held outside North America, particularly because they related to Francis' compassion. When Pope Francis speaks about reaching out to those on the periphery of society, many of them feel they are at the periphery, so they feel he's speaking to them, he said. We've gotten a lot of feedback from young people. They feel they have a connection personally to the Holy Father. There are nearly 40 million people in Poland and more than 90% consider themselves Catholic. They idolize Pope John Paul II, who was born Karol Joseph Wojtyla and canonized in 2014, as one of their own. For a socially progressive Argentine Jesuit, it's a tough act to follow.